All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Plugged In Podcast. This is episode 2. We hope that you all enjoyed our very first one. It was an absolute blast, and man, we can't wait for more to come. But my name is Brandon. You already know Josh, who is here from episode number 1. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that one out as well. And we really laid the foundation of what it means to be plugged in. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that out. But today we have a special guest, and it is Josh's beautiful wife, my sister-in-law, Sadie. So Sadie, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let them get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so my name's Sadie. I'm 23, been married to Josh for about a year. And
Be honest, real quick. I'm going to pause right there. How is it being married to him? He lived with me for a while, so I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Is it pretty good?
I'm just joking. It's wonderful.
There we go. Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. All right, anyways. What else about
What
you?
else?
You were talking, I cut you off. It's terrible.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. We just bought a home.
Yeah.
And that's really been it.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
really
awesome.
what's been going on in our life.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pikeville, Kentucky.
More specific.
Virgin.
I will follow you to Virgin. Sorry.
There we go. And that's why this is a podcast, not a singing show. Anyways, we're going to jump right on into it. But really, y'all both have mentioned already, y'all moved into a new house. So what's summer looked like for you all? Even like you can throw the house in, but what's some fun things that you've done over the summer so far?
Yeah, so I feel like summer kind of kicked off with vacation, family vacation.
We took it
to
early.
Myrtle Beach. That was actually a lot of fun. It was very relaxing. We didn't do a whole lot. Brandon, you were there too. So
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
fun. It's a good time.
So that kicked off summer.
Yeah.
We moved out of our apartment the day before vacation. So we were homeless for 2 weeks.
Very true.
So
Very true.
Technically, you
No.
were in a home. Though.
Yeah.
yeah.
We just didn't own anything or rent or anything. So
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So Josh was really thrilled about the house and moving in and stuff. And I know you were too.
Yeah.
It was stressful though. Was it stressful a little bit?
I couldn't tell you how many times Josh said, we're never buying a house again.
And I stand by it.
What's the worst part about it? What's the worst part about buying a house?
They're just so specific on everything. And I feel like we sent stuff like
Documents.
like documents. It's like if there's like a little mark on it, it's like, can't use it. We got to go back.
Yeah.
And they're just really particular, which is good.
Yeah,
but
that's a good thing. I'm convinced though it's easier to do that than to get a new ID. Like with the new,
we haven't even done that yet.
it's terrible.
Yeah, we
It's
haven't done
terrible.
that yet.
Like it's unbelievable. And then they give you a sheet of paper and it's like, oh yeah, keep up with this. And it's like, what? And I just got to talk about this because this is really frustrating.
It took you like 3 weeks to get your ID.
Oh, what do you mean 3 weeks? I still don't have it. I still don't have it. When did we go on vacation?
Memorial Day week.
Yeah. So
Almost a month.
it was the week before that and I still don't have it. It's unreal. But the social security card, it's important,
Yes.
right? Like
Very.
it is. Oh, and it's on a piece of paper. Like, why do they not give you at least like something like your license that is your social security card? Like that needs to happen. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's, but anyways, we're going to jump right on into it and talk about so it was rough moving it. You're glad you're in now.
Yes.
Right. But
Yes.
it was rough. Any projects you all have done?
So first thing we did, we painted the house, and
How you like that?
it just takes so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought the paint would cover the walls like the first coat. Not a chance. Some walls took 3.
You would think
And
that
then
hot
most
pink
took-
would cover up.
Yeah.
Most of
I mean-
everything.
I don't know why I didn't.
Yeah, I don't. I was confused by it too.
Yeah. And outside of that, I don't know as far as any projects. I mean, we painted it.
Just like little things.
Yeah, we got our furniture in. This would be a few weeks ago.
Yeah, patio furniture too.
We did get patio
I'm gonna
furniture.
steal it, but yeah.
Drive 30 seconds and take it.
There we go.
Yeah.
But awesome stuff. I've been working on projects around my house all summer.
Y'all just got a pool deck,
Yeah, we got a
which
pool
is
deck.
pretty
It's
nice.
It's really nice. I went out there the other night. Me and Abby did, and I fell asleep, and I was out. Like I was out. But that's been nice. But man, trying to get Hadley's room together, and it's been a lot. There has been a lot, but it's been really good. And I hope that your all summer is going good as well. It's really. It was really relaxing for that 1 week, right? It was really relaxing for vacation. So that was nice. But man, summer, like they say that it's like a break and for relaxation. But the reality is, man, summer, I feel like life in summer is sped up. Like you feel going all the time. But anyways, so I hope your summer's going well. But we just want to dive into a little bit deeper of what we talked about in our last episode about being plugged in. And one of the things that we talked about in our last episode is being plugged into the right thing and kind of tracing it back. I talked about how a lot of times the way I see things plugged in is kind of like a light. And maybe you're thinking of a TV or whatever it may look like. But I think of like a lamp, and I think about it being plugged into the wall. And a lot of times you have to trace back and see where it's plugged in to see if the outlet is bad. Why is it not coming on? Is the light bulb bad? Is the outlet bad? What's wrong? And so kind of diving into that idea a little bit deeper. What would you say is one of the biggest things that we tend to do that may not necessarily be bad? Because I think here's the thing. We struggle with like not right and wrong. Like you kind of know right and wrong, right? It's don't lie, don't steal, don't kill, don't like you know right from wrong. Like people know that, but it's really the difference between like, and I talked about it before, good, great, God. But what's one of the things that you think that a lot of times consumes us, takes up all this time, and really that knocks God out of being our number one priority and us not being plugged into Him as much?
Yeah, so I think this is something that the Lord has kind of been stirring in my heart the last couple of weeks, is just the idea of overconsumption. So when you think about, this is specifically like technology, internet, that kind of thing, and I'm going to sound like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's going to sound like kind of crazy whenever you initially think of it. But we were never meant to be all knowing. We were never meant to be all present. That was what God's purpose is. That's who He is. He embodies all of those things. But whenever you have the world at your fingertips, you have all the information, all the knowledge that you think you need to know, it kind of puts a weight on you that you were never meant to carry. And when you think about social media, constant consumption of things, whether those are good or bad things. I mean, for me, like I wasn't consuming quote unquote bad things, but I've recently taken a step away from social media, and I have noticed like my mind is just so much more clear because I'm not filled with things that again aren't inherently bad, but you're not meant to know everything.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's really, really good. I think that we need to be present more. We need to be open more. It's like, oh, I haven't heard from God. Yeah, because you're on your phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? And not that good things or even God things can come from your phone. Like there's so many different things that I've seen online that has helped me in my relationship with Jesus. I mean, we're doing a podcast, you know what I'm saying? Like people are probably listening to or watching this on a phone or tablet or computer, whatever it looks like. But what are you consuming, right? And it's like, man, that overconsumption. And what you hit on there is a lot of times we're consuming to have knowledge, and it's not that knowledge is a bad thing, but it's like, man, I have to know everything about it. And I have to know why. I have to know this, that, the other. And a lot of times, honestly, we try to play God. I think that that's what happens whenever we do those things is we try to figure everything out. And what you said is 100% true is, man, God knows it all. Like he is all knowing. And and he sees ahead, even what we don't see. And a lot of times, though, we try to play God. However, I also think, because what you're saying, it's 100% true that not all of it is bad. Not all of what you consume is bad, but still doesn't mean it's the best. But there are things that you consume that are bad. Like it, and so like for me, what would you Josh, and anybody jump in here, what would you say are some of the things that we consume that are bad, but we don't even see it as that? Because I think that a lot of times we're confused and we don't have clarity. You talked about clarity from being off of it. So if we're on it all the time, we're clearly confused, and we kind of see some bad things as good. What do you think are some bad things that we may be confused about that we're going, oh, well, that's okay?
Yeah. I know a big thing in my life, like in high school and all that, I would also always listen to music that like rap music that cuss and like did all of that. And I never thought anything about it because I was like, oh, I can sing along and just like bleep the cuss words. Like I'm not saying them, so it's not doing anything to me. But the Bible talks about like whatever's in your heart is going to come out. So if I'm listening to it, it's going into my heart.
It's taking root.
So that was a big thing within the past couple of years that I just cut out. Is like I don't want to listen to music that cusses. Like what good is that going to do? And I always thought it was cool. It was like, oh, I can sing this song but not cuss, but I'm still taking it in. So that was a big thing that I did. Was I'm just going to cut it out. If I'm not listening to things that give me life, then why am I even listening to it?
So what do they call it though? Whenever it doesn't have cuss words in it, like what's it called? Whenever it doesn't have it,
just a clean version.
Clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny that a lot of times we see clean as bad, and yet it's like, man, for all the good things we clean up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, I want to be clean. I want to look nice. I want to, and so even that I think is funny. That now we're in it because, and I was the same way. I was always like, I'm just going to download the clean version, right? And now the clean version isn't cool, and what's happened is people are just okay with it. Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's not going to affect me, what you were saying. But it does. And it goes in you, and what's in you will come out of you. And maybe it's not immediately, but it stores up and it builds up. And that's good.
Well, like, I even noticed, like, listening to that music, like, if there were ever, like, was ever a time that, like, I got angry, what were the words that popped in my head? What I was listening to. And like going back to the clean versions, like even the clean versions that they say, there's still some cuss words in it. And I'm like, how is this clean? Like, what makes you think that's clean if it's still saying that? But yeah, it's just.
So what you consume matters. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times is that it's bad, but we see it as okay because it's not that bad. Right. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's not the worst.
Well, and it's the idea of comparison. And whenever you were talking about how, like, what are some things that you've labeled as good that probably aren't the best for you? It's anything that makes you compare your version of the way that you bear God's image to the way someone else bears God's image. And we all have a unique way that we do that. And whenever we choose to say, I like their version better than my version, that's saying that God made a mistake.
Wow.
And we know that that's not true.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really one of the biggest things that I see as well. Middle school, high school, college, and also even adults. Like that's one of the big things that's really hard because like I'm still younger and man, I'm not that young though. I'm gonna be 30 next year. It's crazy. Anyways, but like I see a lot of adults who struggle with comparison. Middle school, high school, and even college. A lot of times it's self-image, and then even relationships. And a lot of times as adults, it's those things, but then also add on parenting. And I'm not this kind of mom. I'm not this kind of dad. And a lot of times we just stuff it, and no one sees it. But I would like to say this is that I think comparison is crippling.
Oh
And
yeah.
a lot of times what happens whenever you compare, instead of trying to get better, because a lot of times people will compare and it's like, oh man, I got to be this. I think a lot of times it actually, you get stuck
Yeah.
and you just same old every day. And it's like, I'll never be that. I'll never be good enough. I'll never be fill in the blank. And, but I think that comparison is a big, big, big issue that a lot of times we struggle with. Girls, maybe you're watching this right now and you see that girl posting a picture and it's like, man, I wish that I could look like that. Man,
Yeah.
I would do anything to look that way. And or maybe you're a mom. It's like, man, I'm just not a good enough mom. Or maybe you're not able to have kids, and it's like, man, I'll literally never be able to be that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it's so crippling, it's so heartbreaking. And I think that what happens is we lose our identity, and we're not plugged into Christ. And instead, we are comparing instead of trying to find who we are and whose we are. And because the reality is He will tell you.
Mhm.
Like, he will tell you, and a lot of it's written in His Word already. When's the last time you opened it instead of opening social media?
Right.
When's the last time that you said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna compare my life to the way Christ says I should live? Okay, I can compare that and go, I need to clean up here. I need to do better here. I need to fill in the blank. That will make you better.
Yeah.
That will make you more like Jesus, which is Christians we're supposed to do. But unfortunately, we open up social media more than we do God's word.
Right. And even if you think about, Sundays, you get the alert on your phone of your average screen time per day. Just think about that number in your mind, in your head. And then also think, when's the last time that I read God's word? I could have chosen to not be on my phone for 30 minutes a day. And I could have learned more about who made me, who made the entire universe.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest excuses,
I don't have time.
I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hang on, you do.
Mm-hmm.
But what you choose shows where your priorities are. And we talked about that last episode is, man, a lot of these problems, they're priority problems. And comparison is one of those that is really unhealthy just as we do that. But I think that it's important to hit on this of, well, okay, like I can agree with you. I would say a lot of people even agree. How much I'm on social media is not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of times people would agree, but I think a lot of times people struggle with actually staying off of it, struggle with not comparing, even though, because you can know the right thing and still do wrong.
Yeah.
And so what are some things that you think would be some healthy habits in stop consuming, being such a consumer of things that will never bring contentment, never bring joy, never bring peace, never bring your identity? What are some things that you would say that to really help you on that?
Yeah. I would say, number one, don't keep your phone in your bedroom. Get a real alarm clock. When you do that, I know a lot of people will say, use the reasoning, there could be an emergency. What did people do 50 years ago when there was no cell phones? They found out when they woke up, and that'll be okay. So I think that that's a great practical tip. Also, choosing to not touch your phone until you have spent time in God's word that morning. Setting, there's like time limits, restrictions on certain apps, just creating boundaries, and also exercising the fruit of self-control. Like, we are gifted discipline in the Holy Spirit, and discipline is often recognized as a bad thing. I think about like disciplining in parenting. Disciplining is just teaching you how to do the right thing. It's not punishment, which is a lot of times how it is construed in parenting is discipline equals punishment. But discipline is just teaching you how to do the right thing.
Yeah, and I think like a big thing is like our phones are on the couch here and like they've been going crazy, like vibrating. And like if you hear that and your first thought is like, ooh, what was that? Like there's a problem there. Like if your phone, you get a notification and you instantly have to look, it's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah, and I don't want this to be a place that I don't want this to be a conversation that causes you to feel shameful.
No.
Because I've been there. I mean, it's still something that I work through every single day, but I want to be to the point to where I yearn to be in the presence of God more than my phone.
Yeah. And anytime that there's a problem, like it's like, oh, my neck's hurting. Where do I go?
Google. Please don't Google. Please don't Google your medical symptoms. If you have a doctor, just call your doctor.
Yeah. and like it's like anytime we have an issue, we go to Google because we want to find the solution. Where's the real solution? In God.
Yeah.
And it's just setting that mindset of like, hey, anything that goes on in my life, I'm gonna go to the Lord. And like eventually that will create like a habit of I'm not gonna pick up my phone and instantly freak out and go to there. It's like, Lord, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
for sure. And I would add here one thing to really help you within these. And those are great tips that you can do. But once again, it's like, okay, how do I do it? Like, how can I make sure that I do it? And I would say have an accountability partner.
Yeah, definitely.
Have someone that can pour into your life, not just tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Someone, and I talk about it a lot, is get hurt, not harmed. Get hurt. Have friends that will hurt your feelings and not harm you later on down the road.
Right.
Because you know the saying, the truth hurts. And sometimes you need to hear the truth because the truth will
set you free.
That's right. But a lot of times we don't like to do this because it doesn't feed our ego. It doesn't make us feel this certain way, and it doesn't make us feel right. Like that's a reality. We want so much for us to be like, well, I'm strong enough. If you think you're strong enough, you're probably not. You know what I'm saying? Like you're probably not. And but even with the phone thing. Right now, and I will say this, there's definitely certain times and situations like right now, you best believe if my phone rings and it's my wife, I'm going to answer because I might be in trouble, right?
Yeah.
You know, like and because there are emergencies, there are things that take place. But once again, is your phone your priority or is God? Are people a priority for you instead of your phone? And that's really where I want to dive into next because one, make sure you have an accountability partner, someone that can pour into your life. But I also want us to look and see who is in our life. A lot of times, like as Christians, it's like, yeah, I'm in the people business, but you're not surrounded really by people.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times it's like, yeah, I'm in the people business, but when's the last time you met someone? Not being like, when's the last time you stretched and not been just comfortable with your clique? And I'll even say clique because that's one of the words that a lot of times people who don't go to church, who aren't Christians, one of the biggest excuses is, yeah, well, Christians are cliquey. Unfortunately, it's true. Like, unfortunately, it's like, yeah, sometimes they can be. However, I will say this as well. Who you surround yourself with matters. So have those people in your life.
Yeah.
Have them be surrounded by them and you surround them because there are going to be times where you fall and you need someone to help you up. There are going to be times where you need advice. You need that accountability partner. But don't be afraid to get messy. And what I mean by that is people are messy.
Yeah.
Love them the way Jesus would. Be there for them and give them that hope. Show them who Jesus truly is. But a lot of times I think that we cut off people. And I think that a lot of times we have the opportunity to show who we're plugged into. It's almost as if you were at my house. And once again, I'm going to bring up the lamp and being plugged in. And a lot of times it's like I will turn on, you can be plugged in and not turn on the switch and show the light, right? And around certain groups, you will,
Hmm.
And then others, you turn your light off because I'm afraid to stand out. I'm afraid to share. I'm afraid to do this, do this, do this. Have your light on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Show people Jesus. We talk about it a lot that, man, this generation, it's hopeless, and man, they're hurting, and it's broken, and it's dark. As Christians, we should be excited. We have the answer. Like, we have the solution, and his name is Jesus. But a lot of times, unfortunately, whenever we get around people that aren't like us and who are messy,
Mm-hmm.
we won't go near them.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, man, have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to them. And a lot of times what happens is, because I know it, we see it all the time, coffee on campus. Whenever people don't want to talk to us,
Mm-hmm.
people have fake conversations.
They
Like, I
do.
mean, it's
It's very
crazy.
true.
But a lot of times what we do is we use our phone, social media
Mm-hmm.
as a comforting tool,
Mm-hmm.
our safe place.
Mm-hmm.
You get on an elevator,
Exactly.
pull
Mm-hmm.
out your phone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think that a lot of times you probably haven't even noticed it.
Yeah.
You don't notice, oh man, I'm really on it that much. Wow, I'm really,
Because it's normalized.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage you, be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware. It's kind of like, once again, what you're plugged into.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware. Because if you're plugged into the wrong outlet or a bad outlet, it can start a fire.
Mhm.
It's not good. So the same thing with this, what you're plugged into matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, any extra thoughts within that? No?
Yeah,
Good
I
there?
don't think so.
Sweet. So I know I talk a lot, so I don't want to cut people off. So even from this, and surrounding yourself with the right people, while also loving all, right? It's kind of a difficult balance a lot of times. At least the enemy, I believe, likes to make it seem like one. So how would you say you could have a healthy balance in that? What should you look for in healthy friendships? We'll start there.
Take it away.
Got it. Man, I would just say, like, and you can ask this, like, it's okay. It's like, what did you do today? And like, when you see like what people are spending their time on, it tells a lot about a person.
Mhm.
If, like you said, like if they spend a lot of time on their phone, it's like, man, they're not really being present. It's like, if you're not going to get life from that friendship, like they can be an acquaintance, but they don't necessarily have to be a friend.
Mm.
And by friend, you mean someone that
Yeah,
that
and
has
like a friend,
value in your life and
Yeah.
also speaks into yours.
yeah, it's like if this person loves the church, loves God,
Mhm.
and loves you, then hey, they can speak into your life, and it's okay to be. Swear I'm stubborn with that. Like it's like I'm only gonna let a select few people speak into my
Mhm.
life, and that is okay. And you can have the circle of people who speak into your life, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's-
It's
Yeah.
really, it's really good just to kind of be careful. Be
Yeah.
careful who's speaking in,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you look at their life, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, oh, can't judge me, can't judge me, can't judge me. However, I can see the fruit.
Mhm.
And so like, look at the fruit of the lives of those around you.
Yep.
Because you are the average of your top 5 friends. If they're talking a certain way,
Mhm.
you probably are too. If they're drinking, if they're going out to parties, if they're having sex before marriage, if you're surrounding yourself with those kind of people, it can lead to that kind of path. And yeah, so you have to be careful with who you're surrounding yourself with, and the relationships that you're plugged into. So what would you say, Sadie? What are some other healthy things to look for in a friend?
I would notice how they speak to other people.
Mhm.
So do they speak life over people, or do they speak death? And that can even be like in small conversations in passing. Are they do you want to be around them? Are they the kind of people where you're like, oh yeah, so and so's at the grocery store, I'm gonna go say hi, or do you like run around the aisle so they don't see you?
Mhm.
Knowing that and like enjoying their presence, I think is something that we don't really prioritize that much, which sounds so silly, but yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's important to find the balance of like not being a Pharisee, but
yes,
like you have to get around people who don't believe the same things that you do,
Yeah.
because then you're going to stay comfortable the whole time and you're not going to stretch. And that's like the balance that I'm trying to find is like, man, I used to go to the rec all the time and there's a ton of people who don't love Jesus there. But now that I don't go there and I work out at home, like I'm just, I find myself around people who believe the same things as me. And I'm very comfortable in that.
Yeah.
And just trying to get out and show people Jesus.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
And I mean, it's really important to have those people. Like, it's not that it's the people that can pour into your life. Like, it's so important. That's really what we were kind of leaning in on there was like, how do you have those healthy friends? And it's so important to keep that core. And really, one question that I really want to ask all y'all listening, for yourself, but also those around you, is if people were to read your life, would they want to know your Jesus?
Mm.
Same thing with the people around you. Ask yourself if you can see Jesus in their life. If they're pouring into you, is it from a place of what they think, or a place of God's word and God's guidance?
Mhm.
And because a lot of times we mess up and even our friends mess up, even if they want what's best for you and you truly believe that, God knows what's best for you.
yeah,
And so always rely on those who are following Jesus. But then once again, what you were going to there, Josh, is don't be afraid to get in the trenches. Don't be afraid to be like to show people Jesus, like to be around those people. Because I was the same way. I always found myself like being so afraid, like to talk. Like it's really, really hard. Like, and it's tough. And some of y'all do it, and man, I need some lessons from you. But it's hard. And but I think that's where having those strong friendships can help in that. Because a lot of times whenever you do that by yourself, it's easier to pull someone down than it is to bring them up. You can't save anybody. You can't.
Yeah.
So have those friends to hold you accountable. Have those friends who care about you, who are there for you. Because what happens so often is we use it as an excuse of, well, Jesus ate with sinners, right? But he didn't do what they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big, big difference. And, but anyways, it's so important to have healthy relationships around you. And it'll be a later episode, but we're going to dive into some relationships and what that looks like within your family, friends, dating, all that fun stuff, all the messy stuff, a lot of fun. But that'll be another episode down the road. But anyways, kind of going back and bringing it all together of comparison and consumption. I really want you all to look at your life and go, what's consuming me? Because what happens a lot of times is we think we have a hold of something, but really it has a hold of you.
yeah,
So what is holding on to you? What really, because the reality is this, listen, social media can be good. Phones can be good. It's not that we're like, oh, no phones, never, like no social media ever, because maybe some of y'all even tuned out already because like, yeah, I'm not doing that. It can be a tool used for good. It can be,
right.
but is it a priority over Christ? If so,
It's an idol.
exactly. You're pretending or you're not pretending. It is your God. That's
Yeah.
what you serve. That's what you go to. And so what's consuming you? What are you taking in? What's your life look like? Does it look more like the people you're comparing yourself to? or Christ? Like and it's hard to do that because we want to see the best in ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But what's so funny is we want to see the best in ourselves, yet whenever we compare, we see the worst.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We go, oh, yeah, I'm never be that.
Mhm.
But what are you consuming? What are you taking in? What are you plugged into? Look at your life.
Mhm.
Look and see, am I shining? Or if I'm not,
Mhm.
what are you listening to? What are you watching? What's in your heart? What's coming out of your mouth?
Mhm.
What fruit are you bearing? And like I said, we're going to talk about fruits of the Spirit later on too.
Yeah.
What fruit are you bearing? What are some things in your life where it's like, man, I got to get closer to Jesus?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I also, this is kind of on another topic, but I truly believe that overconsumption and anxiety are parallel.
Mhm.
And I have seen that in my own life. When the Lord asked me to take a step away from social media, I was in a very anxious place.
Mhm.
And when he asked me to do that, I was like, that's silly. But I've noticed a complete shift in my mind where I just have space to think. Like, when's the
Mhm.
last time you just sat on the couch for 10 minutes, no TV, no phone, and you just sat in your thoughts?
Mhm.
You weren't entertained by anything.
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you the last time I did that.
Yeah.
But isn't that how we listen to the Lord?
Mm.
Whenever we're not distracted by the other things. And a lot of times, especially in personal time with the Lord, we spend time reading, we'll read a devotion, we'll pray, but then we don't leave any room for Him to respond,
Mhm.
for us to listen to Him. So I just want you all to consider that maybe if you're in an anxious place, consider taking a step away from consumption and see where that takes you.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And just a reminder, man, I want to be plugged in to Christ. I want to be plugged into God.
Mhm.
What does the life of Jesus look like?
Mhm.
He was connected to God. He's God in human
Mhm.
flesh, and I understand that. But he was connected to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And one big thing that stands out to me is even Jesus said no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you need to say no to?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what happens is it's yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's constant consumption. And that's where we confuse good things from God things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So fix your eyes on Him.
Mhm.
Go to His word, pray, ask Him. God will answer your prayer.
Mhm.
Yes, no, wait. He'll lead you, guide you, direct you. And I
Mhm.
promise it's not down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Will you trust Him?
Mhm.
Maybe you're just checking this whole Jesus thing out. I want to encourage you. Just try it. You tried everything else. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Right.
All right, God, I'm going to trust you with this.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to try being off my phone. All right, I'm going to try spending time with you. I'm going to do this. All right, I'll try it. And it doesn't have to be pretty.
Mhm.
We don't have it figured out at all.
Yeah.
I definitely don't. But there's something special about just being in the presence of Jesus and making Him your number one priority and having Him be the source of all that you have.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's really important too, like when you do these things, like it's not going to feel good. And I think when we talk about, man, like this is the best thing for me, we do that based on our feelings. Like if it makes us feel good, then that's the best thing for me.
Mhm.
And doing these things like, all right, I'm cutting out social media, it's going to feel weird and you're not going to like it because it's what you're used to. It's what your normal is. And it's like, what do I do? Like I have all of this time. I used to put it in social media, but now it's like, ugh, I don't
Mhm.
like it.
Mhm.
And it's because it doesn't feel good. And sometimes the things that don't feel good are the best things for you.
Right.
Like I took a break from working out and I started yesterday and like I'm a little sore today. It doesn't feel good, but I know that was what was best for me
Mhm.
is to get moving and to do those things. And I'm growing and I'm stretching. And And that just goes back to like, don't necessarily pay too much time to your feelings, because your feelings will lie to you. And
Yeah. And I even think about like, what was our original purpose? Like when we were created, we worked. That was what God's design was. It wasn't as a punishment. That is what God wanted us to do. So maybe you are watching this and you feel prompted to maybe take a step back from social media or your phone, or trying to add some restrictions, and you don't know what to do with your time. I would encourage you to like do something with your hands. If you have space outside, to start gardening, or this is kind of more specific to ladies, or you can start baking or something along the lines of using your hands to create, because there's something so special in doing that, because that's what we were meant to do.
Yeah, good stuff there. Just really look at, what am I plugged into? Literally, what's your phone plugged into? And but kind of going back here, just as we do come to an ending here, there's a thing on social media that's called a For You page. It doesn't say good for you page, but it really shows what you're interested in. But I want to challenge you, even if you're on social media, I don't expect everyone to stop. Like I said, social media can be good. That's between you and God. If it's like, oh, I need to take a break, or I don't. But ask yourself and look at it as, is this a good for me page? Am I comparing, or is it helping me become more like Christ? Is it truly good for you? Because there's a big difference in what the world says is good and what God says is good, because God is good. And so are you becoming more like him? Are you plugged into him? Are you connected to him? Are you involved with him? Does your life look more like his will and his plan, or yours? And what's beautiful, they can line up. It's awesome. But you must be plugged into him. You have to. And but yeah, that's really about all that I have here. Any final thoughts? Any final?
I don't think so.
Good.
There we go. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much just for joining us again for episode 2 of Plugged In. Man, we cannot wait to connect with y'all. Episode 3 coming up next week.